Commander Vex of the Terek fleet watched through the view screen as the small blue planet grew larger. His mandibles clicked in anticipation. Intelligence suggested this world would be an easy conquest, a species barely spacefaring, technologically primitive compared to the Terek Empire's might. Their ships had detected no defensive grid, no orbital weaponry. Tactical analysis complete, Commander, reported Officer Mira, her compound eyes reflecting the holographic display. That humans appear to have no unified military structure. Their nations compete rather than cooperate. Atmospheric defenses are minimal. Vex's exoskeleton shimmered with satisfaction. Excellent. This will be a swift harvest. Prepare the first wave of ground forces. What the Terek could not know, what no species had yet discovered, was that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology or military unity. It was something far more primal. Dr. Tom Reed hiked through Yellowstone National Park, collecting samples for his research on microbiotic life. A bear researcher by training, he branched into studying the smallest organisms in the ecosystem. His radio crackled. "Tom, you seeing this?" His colleague Jack's voice sounded strained. "Look up, man." Tom glanced skyward. Through gaps in the pine canopy, he spotted strange metallic objects descending through the atmosphere. Dozens, perhaps hundreds of them. What the? His words were cut short as one of the objects crashed through the trees nearby, the impact throwing him to the ground. When Tom regained his senses, he crawled toward the smoking object. It wasn't a meteor. The sleek metal pod had opened. Something was emerging, something with too many limbs and eyes that reflected the forest like obsidian mirrors. The creature spotted Tom and raised what could only be a weapon. Tom did what millions of years of evolution had prepared him to do. He ran. Across the globe, the scenario repeated. The Terek invasion force descended on 6 continents simultaneously, expecting minimal resistance. What they encountered instead confounded their military doctrine. In the markets of Mumbai, Officer Grex led a squadron toward the city center. Their intelligence had indicated humans would panic, flee in disorganized chaos. Instead, a group of local police officers formed a defensive line, protecting civilians while returning fire with primitive projectile weapons. In the suburbs of Melbourne, Scout Leader Kay found her small unit surrounded by humans using improvised weapons, garden tools, sports equipment, even cooking implements. They coordinated without obvious communication, protecting their young while targeting the invaders' vulnerable joint sections. On the plains of Kenya, Hunter Squad Delta encountered humans who seemed to disappear into the landscape itself, only to emerge behind them with devastating surprise attacks. Back on the command ship, Vex received increasingly desperate reports. "This makes no sense," he hissed. "They have no central command. Their technology is inferior. How are they coordinating?" The science officer, Blitter, studied the incoming data with mounting fascination. "Commander, I believe we've made a critical error in assessment. That humans aren't simply defending themselves. They're protecting their territories, their young, their ecosystems. Even species that aren't their own." "Explain," demanded Vex. "Our forces report humans shielding not only each other but also their animal companions, their plant life, even their water sources. Look at this footage." The screen showed a human standing between a Terek soldier and what appeared to be an injured quadruped creature. Not a human, but some indigenous species. The human was willing to die to protect it. "This behavior exists across all their habitats," continued Lur. "They function as apex predators, but also as guardians." Tom had managed to lead the alien away from the heart of Yellowstone. His years tracking bears through these woods served him well now. He knew every ridge, every stream, every hidden cave. What Tom didn't expect was to find others had joined him. Park rangers, other researchers, even tourists. They'd formed an impromptu resistance. More surprising still was what they were protecting. Not just themselves, but the wildlife. "They're hunting the wolves and bears," explained Ranger Pete, as they crouched behind fallen logs, taking samples like they're cataloging the predators first. Tom understood immediately. They're removing the competition. On the command ship, Vex faced an uncomfortable realization. The invasion was failing. The predicted quick subjugation had turned into a protracted, costly engagement. Their behavior defies rational analysis, Lur reported. They'd fight harder to protect their territories than they do their own lives. They form spontaneous alliances without pre-existing structures, and they adapt to our tactics with alarming speed. A primitive species shouldn't be capable of this, Vex insisted. That's precisely it, Commander. They're not primitive, they're primal. They evolved as both predators and protectors. They don't just defend their territory, they steward it. The communications officer interrupted. Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the humans. The message was simple. Asterisk, leave our world. We protect what's ours Asteris. Tom stood with representatives from 23 nations as the Terak ship hovered above the United Nations Plaza. 3 days of fierce resistance had brought the aliens to the negotiating table, something unprecedented in their conquest history. Commander Vex addressed the assembled humans, his translator converting his clicks and hisses to English. We misunderstood your species. We believed you were disorganized prey. We now recognize you as guardians, not just of yourselves, but of your entire world. Tom stepped forward as the designated speaker. This is the only home we have. We will defend it, all of it, to our last breath. For the first time in the history of the Terak Empire, a conquest was abandoned. As their ships disappeared into the stars, they carried with them a new classification for Earth. Asterisk, not a resource world, not a colony prospect, protected system. Approach with extreme caution. Guardian species present asterisk. And in the forests and cities of Earth, humans returned to their lives, their protective instinct neither diminished nor forgotten, but recognized at last for what it truly was, not a quirk of evolution, but its crowning achievement.